welcome to our class on these two sets of maamarim. So we have already reached halfway through Ois Gimel. If you would like to catch the first few classes, they're all on our YouTube channel, Living Chassidus on our YouTube channel, so you can check those out. And today I'm going to go back a little bit. We're going to start from page 38 from the section which says spiritual exodus, which really talks about how do we apply this whole concept into our lives, which is the reason why I want to we finished it off with a very powerful note in the last class, but I want to start off today also with that same note. So okay, so to do a short and sweet recap, we're trying to understand, or the Maamar is trying to help us understand, what is this concept of remembering Yetzias Mitzrayim every single day. Remembering Yetzias Mitzrayim. According to halacha, it's once a year. According to different opinions, the Alter Rebbe being one of them, he adds the words into this that it should be every day. And so then we have a whole question on it. What does it actually mean, Yetzias Mitzrayim? If we're meant to remember it, so what does it actually mean? So we went into three aspects of three levels of Yetzias Mitzrayim, which is the past, the present, and the future. So in the past, what actually happened is Yetzias Mitzrayim. We actually left Mitzrayim, so that's number one. The present, it's that we celebrate it, or we commemorate it, or we remember it, or we relive it in two different ways. One is exactly on the 15th, which technically starts on the 14th when we technically burn the carbon Pesach, and the 15th when we have our Seder, and we have matzah and mar in front of us, and so there we say, because of this, we left Mitzrayim, etc., etc., and so we know for a fact that it's in, the Maamar discusses why we know for a fact that it's on the 15th, because we actually have the physical matzah and mar, and also there's an opinion that we're supposed to celebrate, that we're supposed to relive it every single day, and then that opinion is based on the fact that as much as we don't usually keep our matzah and mar on our table on a daily basis from morning till evening, but when we say because of this, it means that there is a spiritual level of matzah and mar that we have every single day. So therefore, we do have this in front of us every single day, and that's why we remember Yetzias Mitzrayim every single day, twice a day, in the morning and in the evening, and we give a whole explanation on how we get that. And we say it during Shema, the brachas before Shema, and during Shema, we remember Yetzias Mitzrayim every single day in the morning, and in the evening, we're supposed to say Shema morning and evening. And then the last, or the third version, is how Yetzias Mitzrayim is going to be lived even after Mashiach comes. So that one, that kind of throws all of us off, because it leads us to this whole question, like, why would we, and I used this example last time, why would we celebrate our kindergarten graduation during our high school or university or seminary graduation? Like, seriously, that doesn't really make sense. Like, it's kindergarten. So the question goes as such, being that thanks to Yetzias Mitzrayim, it created the possibility for all Yetzias of all of our galus ever. So therefore, we are actually grateful to Yetzias Mitzrayim for giving us the opportunity and creating this concept of Mashiach, and the fact that we're going to Yetzia out of this galus, and it's all thanks to Mitzrayim. And we go on to say, and the Rebbe goes on to say, one second, according to this concept, though, it means that every single year on the 15th of Nisan, we'll be celebrating this, yes, to a certain level, in a lesser degree than the actual Yetzia of, like, when Mashiach comes, that Mashiach is going to take us out of the galus. That celebration is going to be gigantic in comparison to what we do now for Pesach and what we'll do then for Pesach. But it's interesting to note that how would it be possible for us to commemorate or relive Yetzias Mitzrayim? Like, what is it going to add into our lives when Mashiach comes? And we discussed thoroughly what's going to happen when Mashiach comes. We're going to be able to literally see the mouth of Hashem create every single thing. Like, there's not going to be any part of Revelation that's not going to be revealed. And so therefore, it's a question, what could Yetzias Mitzrayim do for us in times of Mashiach when we're going to have everything done? Like, it's like you turn on the light. How can you turn on even more light? Like, when Mashiach comes, we're going to see everything so clearly. We're going to see that Hashem created it. We're going to see it so, so vivid and bright. how is it possible that we are going to gain anything out of celebrating this past event, leaving Mitzrayim way back when? Like, what are we going to gain from it? So that question leaves us hanging. And the Rebbe explains, in order to understand that question, we have to really understand what Mitzrayim means. And then we go in this beautiful relationship, in this beautiful discussion of what Mitzrayim means. And Mitzrayim has a relationship in wording. The word has a relationship to Maitzarim, which are our limitations, our boundaries, So then, being that there's a connection, Mitzrayim to Maitzarim, so we're able to understand how is it possible for the Eibishter, who is like fully, it is good. Hashem is good to create something that is against him, that is not good. How is that even possible? And so therefore, it leaves us with this question: how could Hashem create something that's immoral and negative, even though he has every single part of him that's positive? And we start to answer by understanding that when Hashem created light, it says in the Pesach, Hashem created darkness, and then Hashem created light. In the middle of those two, Hashem had to create an empty space in order to create light within that darkness. So we go and we say that the initial little seedling, the first move towards creating separation in this world is the fact that Hashem had to restrain himself, create an empty space, make a tzimtzum arishin, the first tzimtzum, the first contraction of himself. And due to that, he was then able to create a seder shtalshus within that space, a step-by-step level of creation with, as we said, little, it's as if it's like curtains and partitions and et cetera, that would be able to transform something that is purely Ein Sof, like it's just Hashem and there's no separation within it, to create little pieces of separate me, separate phone, separate water bottle, separate book, right? So being that was created, Hashem was able to create a system by which he was able to create things that were separate from him. And because of Tzimtzum Arishin and because of the Seder Shtalshlus, Hashem himself was able to create something that would go against him. And okay, so we left with that, and then at the end I wanted to really finish off on a powerful note, so I made sure to include the next part, but I want to start from this place and continue forward. Okay, so it says in the pasuk, one second. It says in the pasuk. Okay, it says in the pasuk, "Gam es ha'olam nasan belibam." So Hashem has placed the world in their hearts. This means that everything that occurs in the world at large is dependent on the conduct of each Jew. And I said this last time, that we have to realize what's happening right now in the entire world, which is a very global situation with this whole virus. We have the power within our conduct, within the way we handle ourselves, to affect the entire world for the good. Therefore, when we serve Hashem without limitations and restraints, we cause all the limitations and restraints in the world at large to disappear as well. So right now, we're all incredibly limited, or at least for sure people in New York and Crown Heights, I think more so than a lot of other places, but we're incredibly limited in the fact that we can't go out of our houses. We can only go out to get food, and that's barely it. And we have to be extra careful with masks and gloves and the whole 9 yards. So right now we're living a very limited life, even just like in that level. I'm not even talking about other levels, which of course everyone's financial situation. A lot of people are struggling with having all their kids at home and handling all their online schools. So there's a lot of different levels of limitations that we live with, but I'm using this as an example. And if us as Yidden, we serve Hashem, we give ourselves up for Hashem or towards Hashem in a limitless way, we say, Hashem, whatever you want from me, I am given over to you. Whatever you need from me, that's my shlichus right now. I will do it to its fullest extent. If we are able to do that, So then we're able to break all the limitations for the entire world, right? So this is a wonderful opportunity we have now, I mean, every single day, but which we'll discuss that later actually, but we have this opportunity to realize that we have the power to break the limitations of the entire world. So then the Rebbe himself asks, which is a very obvious question, what does it mean to serve Hashem without limitations? What does that even mean? So the Pasuk says, Bechol alavcha, bechol uvechol nafshecha, ubechol me'edecha. So the question is, one second, if we're doing bechol alavcha with all your heart and with all your soul, what is might? We already used my heart, I already used my soul, and here in one of the footnotes, it beautifully explains that heart represents your emotions. You gave up all your emotions. You have your love for Hashem, you have your fear for Hashem, you have your respect for Hashem, you have your drivenness for Hashem. All of your emotions you use for Hashem. V'chol nafshecha, it's your intellect, represents your intellect. So you're literally using your mind to learn Chassidus. You get up extra early on a Sunday morning to learn Chassidus with Living Chassidus. And you're trying to think the whole day, wow, okay, how can I infuse my children's chinuch with Hashem's reality? How can I infuse my life with Hashem's reality? How can I, even if right now you're changing a diaper or you're at work and you can't exactly, I'm not going to think concepts of chassidus, but the fact is you're given over to Hashem shlichus in that work. I have to do the work to the best that I have my ability so that I can do Hashem shlichus in this particular work, whether it's child rearing or actual physical work, meaning actual other work. But that leaves us with a question: that's with all your might? Okay, so I gave everything already. What else do you want from me? So the Maamar explains, to love Hashem with all your might means to serve Him without restraints, which is accomplished through breaking out of our limitations. To put this into simple terms, and the Rebbe says, and this is our Rebbe in our generation, okay? So he's talking to us. We're not talking about something ancient. This is to us right here, right now. Our service of Hashem must extend beyond our intellect, which should disregard the calculations society makes for us and what our neighbors want to force upon us. And I want to read that footnote. Often, our decisions reflect the culture of our surrounding society or are based on how those in our immediate vicinity will view our actions. To serve Hashem without limitations means that our decisions are grounded purely on what Hashem desires and not on the accepted norms of the neighborhood and of society in general. So I want to say, and I want to remind everybody, depending, I don't know exactly who else has joined the call since, but regardless of where you live, you can still have that mindset of living on shlichus wherever you are. And once you have that mindset, you realize that you have something to represent. Even if you live in a frum community, even if you live in Crown Heights, even if you live in wherever, you have something that you represent, and you have to stand up for that thing. So we can't let society shape our mindset. So for example, one of the many things that society helps us shape, so to speak, is, let's say, the clothing, our children's clothing, for example, or our children's haircuts, or our own haircuts, or our, even just certain mentalities. I mean, recently somebody sent me this video about someone on YouTube talking about, having a whole discussion about how she decided whether or not to have children. And I was just like, are you serious? Like society has a viewpoint and a vision of children and what they do or don't do for our lives. And we have to make sure to not allow outside world's influence over our Yiddish mindset. Like, we have to make sure to keep our head clear, wear our Hashem glasses to the utmost. And if you need clarity, then obviously there's a rabbanim to call and to say, okay, what is the Jewish perspective on this? Or like, is now the time to or not to do such a thing? And also mashpia. Mashpia is huge. And even if you don't have your personal mashpia, please find someone that you'll just call for this particular question. And obviously the goal is to work towards getting a personal mashpia that you can speak to in general. But again, it's having that clarity. Yes, absolutely. I think it's still applicable when you already have children, because you can change your mindset about how you view your children. So a lot of people have children because, oh, the Torah tells me to have children, and like I have to, but they don't appreciate the Yiddish mindset of how literally every single child is a world in of itself, and we have to work our hardest to make sure that they come out not just Jewish because they're born Jewish, but Jewish because you have given them a love for Hashem, you have given them a love for the Eibishter, you have given them, and that comes of you giving over this feeling. So if you change your mindset about what children do in your, if not you, I'm saying the general klal, if somebody were to change their mindset, if they originally had a mindset that children drive us crazy and we just have to have them because Hashem told me to, so then our attitude towards our children might be different. I really think so. Than if we think, wow, this is such a huge bracha that the Eibishter has given me, that I am able to have these incredible miracles walking around in my family, and that they are recreating. We have this ability to create the next generation of Yidden, and therefore we have to shape them as the next generation of Yidden, not just as human beings, but also as giving over that mindset and that attitude to them, so that they can carry on the baton when it's their turn to carry it on. If that makes sense. So again, we have to be careful about how much we let in the outside world's mentality of marriage, for example, of financial things. Like money is not meant to be used for tzedakah, let's say. A lot of people, I mean, Baruch Hashem, now it's catching on in the outside world as well, that you live a happier life if you give tzedakah, but not necessarily everybody holds by that. A lot of people disagree with that. They say, what is this nonsense? Like, it's my money, I worked hard for it, I should keep it. So again, we have to be cognizant of how much the mindset around us is affecting us, and we have to go back into, as the Maamar says itself, Torah's emes. We have to go back to Torah and say, okay, what does the Torah perspective about this? And if you need help, you can always ask for help, whether it's Living Chassidus, or you can ask, your personal Rav, or you can. So I don't know what was the last part that was heard, but Baruch Hashem, it's all This is my internet, I guess I had to restart or something. Okay, so we left off with what we should also disregard the calculations made by our body and the animal soul, what they did or did not enjoy, and even the calculations made by the godly soul. So the godly soul we're going to discuss further later. Yeah. But for now, we have to realize that, I don't know about you guys, but sometimes working out, my body's like, no, don't do this. And the reality is that it's the best thing for it at the time. So we have to keep in mind that, we have to keep in mind that our body and our animal soul, our nefesh bahamis, may not enjoy the plan that we're hoping to do. And we have to try and push ourselves beyond those limitations as well. Whatever it is that we don't particularly enjoy. Like, I'm trying to think of a good example of this, but I guess one of them might be like even just taking some extra time to join the shir, or taking a little bit of extra time to say whatever amount of davening that you can, or for some people, it's making sure to start the day with something of kedusha, as opposed to start the day straight with like checking their phone the first thing. So animal soul absolutely loves checking our phone. For some people, it's even before washing the Wasser. But making sure to not break out of those limitations, to break out of those habits, so to speak, and say, okay, this may not be what you enjoy the most, but this is what Hashem wants me to do. So therefore, I want to make sure to do that first. So if we can all, by the end of the shir, take a moment to say, okay, what can we take on? Or in what ways, even if it's little, even if it's something that like you wouldn't necessarily tell a friend, like, oh, wow, I'm so proud of myself, I watched Nagelwasser now. But like if it's something small that like you really think, okay, I'm going to push myself a little bit further today than what I did yesterday, that's a beautiful thing. And then as for the godly soul, it's a very interesting question. What do you mean the godly soul? The godly soul is the one who's like constantly working so hard to connect to Hashem. Why would we be going beyond the calculations made by the godly soul? So I want to read that footnote 46. Often the excuses we come up with to avoid serving Hashem properly stem from the body or the animal soul, because it will require time, effort, and financial resources, and so on. But sometimes the reasons we give seem to stem from the godly soul. We seem to have a valid spiritual reason why we are not the right person, or why we are not the right, or this is not the right time or place to get involved. To serve Hashem without limitations means to disregard even such calculations. So if you really think, I should be, someone should take care of this. Like I was thinking about it, like someone should teach us share on a maamar every morning. And it's like, oh, but like really me, what if it's not what people are expecting? What if no one's going to get up for it? And I'm like, one second, I'm making calculations, which are holy and kedusha calculations that maybe someone could do a better job at it, but that's preventing me from actually moving forward and stepping up to the plate. So if you have something that you could do, whether it's your personal shlichus for you and your family, or whether it's a shlichus for your community, and taking that moment and saying, one second, what am I waiting for? Why am I making these like godly calculations, whether someone could do a better job, or the shliach should really do it, or da. 1 second, Hashem put me in this place with this thought, with this emotion right here, right now. I need to step up to the plate and take it. Okay, I'm gonna read a little bit more and then we're gonna finish off because I know it's late and yeah. Okay, so instead, knowing that a certain idea or activity is associated with love Hashem, your God, we go ahead and do everything for Hashem without restrictions. And that takes, it takes an appreciation that this is what we want to do. And the fact that you guys are even in this call right now means that you, to a certain extent, realize that you want to live a life that is filled and towards the path that Hashem wants from you. So therefore, kol hakavod to everybody on this call right now. And it's taking that push and really living with it and pushing all the way so that we actually go and do those things without restrictions. Whether it's we teach our children, we play. I mean, I shared the link to play the manishtana so your kids know the manishtana, and I shared a bunch of different links that like you can infuse your day-to-day life with holiness and kedusha and live that mindset of like, I want to live my life for the Eibishter himself. I want to be a representative in my home. I want to be a representative in my community for Hashem. When we serve Hashem in such a manner, we are illuminated with divine assistance. So not only do we do our part bli gvul, but the Eibishter himself gives us without like bli gvul. So if we push ourselves, then the Eibishter says, wow, you're doing such an amazing job. I'm going to boost you up without any limitations. So just realize that when you do, all we have to do is take a step forward and try our best, and Hashem's going to take a step forward on his end. And Hashem's best is even better than our best for sure. And he's going to give us brachas, and he's going to help us in his best, so to speak. When we serve Hashem in such a manner, we are illuminated with divine assistance, an assistance that is similarly boundless and without restrictions. This enables us to break through the spiritual darkness of our times and instill it with light. See, right now, darkness of our times, and if we do our part, we're going to be able to instill the entire world with light. This reflects the way it was in Mitzrayim. When the Egyptians were afflicted with the plague of darkness, the Yidden simultaneously had light. So we always have the power to create the light. As long as we create the light, the Eibishter is going to give us light, and then we can shine that light onto the world. We thus fulfill our mission to make the world into a dira b'tachtonim, a dwelling place for Hashem, and we begin by transforming our immediate surroundings. This, my world, me and my home, and my Dalet Amos that I live, as long as we start by transforming that, we slowly begin. And we continue through that, we continue with the entire area. Eventually, you could transform the whole area around you, whether it's your community or your greater surroundings. And ultimately, through doing that, we transform the entire world, because bishvili nivra olam. The fact that I change myself, I am a whole world in of itself. And so therefore I affect my world, and my world affects everybody else's world, and every single person that you affect in the world is a whole world in of themselves. And this is accomplished through illuminating our surroundings and thereby the entire world with the light of Torah and mitzvahs. As the Pasuk says, a mitzvah is a candle and Torah is light. Consequently, the idea that Hashem is the master of the world will begin to shine there as well. And we will fuse the spiritual with the material, creating a dwelling place for Hashem. Ultimately, we bring about the fulfillment of the above mentioned verse, right? So by doing this, so we're creating this connection between Gashmis and Ruchnis, and we're showing the world that Hashem is really light and the Torah is light, and we living as a shlucha wherever we live and doing our thing is light. So therefore, we bring to reality the glory of Hashem will be revealed, and all flesh together will see the mouth of Hashem has spoken, which is exactly the pasuk we used to show what's going to happen when Mashiach comes. So by us doing our part in illuminating the world, by illuminating ourselves and illuminating our surroundings, we are able to bring that light to the point that we're revealing Hashem's power over the world, and we're revealing Mashiach. We will see the word of Hashem that creates and gives life and existence to every entity in the universe. And I think we're going to leave off there. I apologize, we're dropped late. And thank you so much for joining. And I hope everybody has a boost of inspiration to inspire them for the rest of the day and for the rest of the week. And it's going to be a really, really, really powerful time, because we're going to join together right now. As soon as we hear the shofar, we're going to join together and see that Hashem really creates the world. And we'll have that revelation. Mashiach comes right now.